Hello and welcome back to the channel. I love growing garlic and so I do it every year. I started with a single shop bought bulb and I've been replanting my own garlic ever since. In this week by week video I'm going to show you how simple it is to grow all the garlic you'll ever need. We start our diary in the autumn and will mainly be growing our garlic over the colder months. Start by breaking apart a bulb into its cloves. I would recommend that you plant the garlic which you like to eat, and so it can be bought from any normal supermarket or farm shop. Each bulb will give you roughly between 6 and 10 cloves, so use this as a rough guide when thinking about how many you want to grow. Best not use a tool when breaking apart the bulbs, as damaging the cloves will mean they could rot in the ground rather than germinating. Check your cloves to make sure you haven't got any damaged or bad ones, and then grab your dibbing tool and choose an open area which is going to be clear until the summer of next year. Make a hole for each of your cloves. The depth should be roughly double the depth of your clove and spaced about a hand span apart. Take a look at your cloves and you'll notice that one end is pointy. This is the top and we want this pointing upwards when we place it in the hole. Put one clove in each hole and give it a gentle push down with your finger so it reaches the bottom. Then cover up each hole by brushing the soil back over. Put a label at each end of the growing area so that you don't accidentally plant anything else here. And then give this area a really good water. This washes the soil around the clove, which will keep it moist and kick-starts germination. That's the sowing done. You can jump ahead in the video if you want to, using the links in the description. Checking on the garlic at week 2, we can see that they haven't germinated yet. They can take a couple of weeks, so you don't need to worry just yet. Germination has started by week 3, and small green shoots are poking their way out of the ground. If yours haven't germinated yet, it could be that the soil is too dry. Give it a good water if it feels dry. The shoots are growing on nicely at week 4. They're at the size where larger weeds could steal their sunlight. Keep weeds cleared, but be careful not to damage the seedlings. The leaves are starting to grow by week 5, and they'll start to send energy back into the bulb. There's not much to do over the next 5 weeks. Keep on top of weeding so they don't steal nutrients from the garlic, and be on the lookout for anything wanting an easy meal. Most pests are put off by garlic though, which makes them a really easy crop to grow for beginners, or for children. Make sure the area stays watered, and an easy way to check to see if the soil is moist enough is to push your finger into the soil up to the first knuckle. If it comes out dry and clean, then it's too dry. At week 11 we can see the leaves starting to lean towards the sun. As we get into the colder months, the light levels are lower and the plant will try to get as much sunlight as it can. This won't affect the plant, so don't worry too much and they won't need any supporting. Over the next 5 weeks as we head through winter, the plants are growing at their slowest, due to the limited sunlight hours. It's a really important time for the bulbs though, as the cooler temperatures encourages the bulbs to split. It's important to wait until the autumn to plant your garlic though, as it's harder to frost when it's this size. The more green growth it has, the more damage it can take from frosty weather. And we can see that the small amount of snowfall in week 17 hasn't affected it at all. As the days get longer, the garlic is growing on happily over the next few weeks. There's not much to look out for. It's a wet time of the year anyway, so you shouldn't need to water. Pests are all hiding for the winter, so they're not a threat, and weeds should be slow to grow too. From week 24 onwards, the main stem is starting to thicken, and as we now have longer days, the plant will gradually grow taller each week. We didn't need to worry about watering these over the winter, but the sun will start to shine, and as the soil warms up, it would be a good idea to check the moisture once a week. I add some hay mulch around the garlic at week 28. This protects the soil from the sun and stops the soil drying out too quickly. You don't have to do this step, but it will mean that you'll need to water a little more often. At week 30 and around the start of May, the garlic are at their tallest, and all of the energy is now going into developing and growing the bulb. Now you can see how large the plant grows. This should give you a good idea of how closely you can plant the cloves in the future. At around 32 weeks, you should see some scapes growing from the top of the stem. They look like this, and they're solid rather than flat like a leaf. I guess they look a little like pig's tails, but green and not hairy, and not adorable. Cut them off as close to the stem as possible. They would eventually grow into a seed pod and would take energy away from the bulb. Do this for all the plants, but keep an eye out as they won't all grow scapes or grow them all at the same time. At week 33, you may see a little yellowing or dying back of the leaves. This could be down to a couple of things. The greenery of the plant will start to die back anyway as we approach harvesting, but it could also be a little rust on the leaves, which looks like this. It's nothing to worry about and can appear if it's been particularly rainy or wet. If it's very heavy, rust can reduce the size of the garlic bulb, but there's not really any treatment, so you shouldn't lose any sleep. We can see the leaves yellowing further and the stalks starting to fall towards the ground over the next couple of weeks. This is normal, and it means we're very close to being able to enjoy our fresh garlic. At around 35 weeks, or when your plants have all fallen over like this, then we're ready to harvest. Harvesting is super simple. Pull the bulb out of the ground using the stalk. The roots of garlic don't grow too deep, so it shouldn't require a lot of effort. Shake the soil off the bulb or gently tap it to the ground, and marvel in the glory of having grown your very own garlic. Lay the bulb with its stalk in a tray and carry on pulling them out of the ground. If any stalks snap while pulling out the garlic, just gently dig up the bulb using a hand trowel, but being careful not to damage the bulb. Any debris left can go in the composter. To store properly, it's important to let onion and garlic dry thoroughly. We also want any goodness in the stalk to be taken back into the bulb, which is why we don't cut that off yet. Place the tray in a sunny location for about a week. A little rain would be fine, so long as there's drainage in the tray, but you can move it under cover if you're expecting bad weather. After a week or so in the sun, the stalks have dried out and the bulbs are now ready to store. I know some like to make fancy braids, but I can't be bothered with that, so cut off the roots and the stem as close to the bulb as possible. Brush off any remaining soil and store these together in an open pot or bowl, ideally somewhere dark and cool. I keep them in my kitchen cupboard so they're within easy reach. I find my garlic will easily last 6 months, but often much longer. Keep a bulb or two to one side so you can replant them again in the autumn. I bought a single bulb 3 years ago and I've been replanting in this way ever since. Garlic is probably my favourite crop to grow because I cook with it most days and I no longer have to pay for it. It's simple to grow and it doesn't take up a lot of space. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it useful. If you have any garlic growing tips, please leave them in the comments so we can all learn and grow together. Thank you to my patrons for making these videos possible, and if you want to get involved, more information is down in the description. Here are some other videos that you may enjoy. Thank you for your time and happy growing.